Hello and welcome back to Portal 2, the Let's Play semi-blind, although really from now on it is blind, but whatever, with Neo Rambler. Right, I must warn you before we carry on with this video, I am on the port tonight. Delicious port. If you're interested, it's Croft, fine port since 1588, purple velvet, finest reserve port. Handcrafted luxury from Croft, John Croft. That's exactly what it says on the front label of the bottle. Now, I've had quite a bit already, actually, to be fair. Only because I fancied it. I haven't had a drink for a while, so I thought, yeah, why not? And let's do it with Portal. Only because this game is getting better and better and better. I'm really invested in this game at the moment, and I just fancied playing this next bit with a little drink. But then again, it could ruin the experience, so if it does, I apologise in advance before we carry on, but I'm only drinking because I'm relaxed, I'm chilled, and I fancied it. However, I must stress, if you're under 18 or under the age of legality in terms of drinking in your respective countries, be careful with your drink, guys, okay? I'm not trying to promote reckless drinking, I'm just saying I fancy a drink tonight, but I don't want to stress that you guys should do the same. You respect the drink in the way that you respect it, and you stick with that, okay? Anyway, right, out of the way. Or with that out of the way, even I should say. We're going to start with an Easter egg I've missed, actually, thanks to Elanus19 and Game Boy 8 who pointed it out, and I'm sure the rest of you guys would have done as well, but they're the ones who did, so thank you guys. Apparently on this top level bit, where we were at before we met GLaDOS the potato, there is a hidden room that we completely and utterly missed. It's just behind this shelf here. We're going to travel down it and see what's up. And we can see there are some vitrification doors. 3 of them. Oh, and one opened. That's creepy. I didn't know about that. Right, anyway, before we go down that way then, let's have a listen to these and let's see what they say. Let's see what they have to say. Off you go, Cave Johnson.
If you're allergic to peanuts, you might want to tell somebody now, because this next test may turn your blood into peanut water for a few minutes.
Well, that's better than gasoline. At least it won't set on fire.
They're going to have to invent a new type of Nobel Prize to give us, so hang in there.
Right, okay, well, fair enough. Thanks for the warning. But A, I love peanuts and I love my peanut butter, so I'm not allergic to it. And B, yeah, if I had the choice between having my blood turned into gasoline or peanut water, probably turn it to peanut water. Though what exactly is peanut water? Was that water with peanut essence, or water that is also made of peanuts? I don't know. Answers on a postcard, please. Right, next door.
The average human male is about 60% water. As far as we're concerned, that's a little extravagant. So if you feel a bit dehydrated in this next test, that's normal. We're going to hit you with some jet engines and see if we can't get you down to 20 or 30%.
Fair enough, but surely that would kill me in the process without some sort of modification to the body in order to accommodate for the new 20 or 30% water content. Did you think of that, Cave, or are you working on that particular progress or process, I should say, and your progress in that process is not doing so well? Yeah.
Alright, we're working on a little teleportation experiment. Now, this doesn't work with all skin types, so try to remember which skin is yours.
A racist teleportation device.
We'll do what we can to sew you right back into it.
A racist teleportation device. At least racist in terms of skin type. Oh, Cave, you make me chuckle. Anyway, right, well, we seem to have unlocked an achievement on that, so I believe we've actually answered all the doors, which I think one of you said. I think Game Boy 8 said that's the last of the doors, so I believe you're right, old chum. We have now done all of the vitrification doors. This is good. Oh, ship overboard. I was going to say we're in some sort of dockyard or something, but we can't go down and have a look. Well, that's a bit disappointing. We have got the zoom in feature, though. Was a boat here, or was a boat meant to be here, or is there a boat here? Don't think there is a boat here. I think the boat, well, a boat that, oh, I don't know. There's no way. That's a shame. Is this where the Borealis ship was? The Borealis ship being the name of the ship that was mentioned by Doug Ratman, the crazy voice that we may or may not have heard behind the walls of that particular Doug Ratman den we were at that had the crazy voice behind the wall, and of course the ship that was referenced in Half-Life 2 Episode 2 that was going to be mentioned in a later game but never happened because the later game never happened, at least not yet anyway, although one of you guys actually, that's a good point actually, one of you guys mentioned, well, had something to say with regards to my comments. I made a comment on, either way, cool room by the way, made a comment that that what I said before about rushing Half-Life 3 or rushing Half-Life 2 Episode 3 or whatever. I said, look, you might as well just get it out now because everybody's been waiting for so many goddamn years. By the time you do get it out, nobody's going to care anymore, you know, because it'll be so long since the last one. Everybody would have forgotten or moved on or what have you. I was told off. Apparently somebody disagreed and said that they shouldn't rush it, that they should you know, take their time making the game, and therefore, you know, when it comes out it'll be amazing. And some of you have also mentioned that Valve have released the new Source 2 engine. I didn't know they were working on a Source 2 engine, so maybe with that engine, and once the developers have had a hand on it, because apparently they've handed it out to developers to play with it, maybe there might be a new Half-Life game in the works, or at least on the agenda of Valve. Don't know. But with regards to the bloke who disagreed, I forget your name by the way, and you know who you are. I see where you're coming from, of course, and I agree that you know, you shouldn't rush a product. You know, if you're going to take your time with the product, take your time with it, because at least then when it does come out, it'll be polished, it'll be amazing, and at least people could look at it and go, well, it was a long time worth waiting, but as what I just said there, it was worth waiting for. However, my only argument against that is, look what happened to Duke Nukem Forever, and look what happened to Alien Colonial Marines. Okay, they didn't have quite as long a development time as Half-Life 3 or Half-Life 2 Episode 3, even in terms of the gap between the games, but they were rushed and they were terrible because the time was so long between each game that they just had to get it out to, you know, just put people's minds to rest. So is it worth spending this much time now developing Half-Life 2 Episode 3 or Half-Life 3, you know, to this polished product if nobody's really going to go buy it because everyone would have moved on? Admittedly though, Half-Life does have a massive fan base compared to Duke Nukem, so maybe it would still sell well and make money and people would love it and maybe even reinvigorate interest in the entire franchise. So maybe it's got that going for it, but I see where you were coming from, and I agree with you, but I think it's been so long now that they should just get it out now. Just put our minds to rest. But anyway, that's just my opinion. But thank you very much for donating your opinion. It was fantastic, and of course you also left a nice comment saying that I make nice videos. Thank you so much. And like I said, please feel free to leave whatever opinions, whatever comments you want in these videos. It's all welcome. Right, anyway, the drink is getting to me, which is bad because I didn't want it to get to me now. We've got things to do, we've got gaming to progress with, so let's do that. Oh my god, Cave Johnson was possibly going out with a potato. Yep, hello and welcome back to Portal 2 where we last left off. Right, I have made a connection that this lady here is possibly that potato on the end of our gun. Possibly, I'm not 100% sure, but after GLaDOS copied what Caroline was saying in the recording we heard with Cave Johnson's voice just before we ended the last video, and that Cave Johnson and Caroline were perhaps connected together in some way, the fact that there's a lady next to Cave Johnson there implying that that's Caroline, and also when we did see this picture that GLaDOS said, ooh, those two look familiar. Is it possible Cave Johnson was going out with a potato? I don't know is the honest answer. We'll find out as the game progresses. Now before we do progress, a couple of things to mention. Thank you very much oh, I can't pronounce your name properly. Do you know what? I had it. I think it's Magi. That's your name. Magi Olorus, I believe that's your name. If I've mispronounced that, I do apologise. Magi Olorus has mentioned that I made a comment saying that I recognise the bloke who's painted as Cave Johnson, and possibly even the lady as well. And apparently they are based on real people. And according to Magi Olorus, Cave Johnson is Bill Fletcher, the lead animator of Portal 2. And the lady is Laura Dubbuck, who is the Valve visual designer at the time. So awesome. I actually thought they were actors and actresses though, or actors I should say, because actresses is kind of falling out of favour. They're just going to call them actors from now on. But either way, thank you very much for that, Magi, for pointing that out. So they are based on real people, but I actually honestly thought they were based on actors because I recognise their faces, but I don't know a lot about Valve, so don't know where I got that from. But anyway, thank you very much, Magi. Thank you. All the best. Kitty Guardian has mentioned that, oh yes, I made a comment saying that there's a couple of references to 426 and something else, and I said, oh, they're connected to television programs and movies. Were those movies inspired by Aperture? Oh, sorry, did Aperture inspire those movies? And apparently Kitty said that perhaps the movie stole from Aperture, because Cave Johnson made a comment that everything, or every company, or every idea since Aperture's invention was stolen from Aperture. Maybe there's some truth to that. Don't know, Kitty, but we'll find out later. Thank you for that comment. Lovely. Hank van der Linden. Yes, you made a nice comment, actually, which I have to make a reference to. He believed when I had my little rant about the Half-Life 2 plot, I should zoom out and pretend I'm doing something to try and pass the time a bit, I shall walk around in circles. Probably not the good idea, considering I've had a bit of port, but whatever, we'll go with it. In fact, actually, we'll stare at that for a second, because that's important. He made the comment saying, you know, oh, he feels bad that possibly you guys, and he didn't mention any names specifically, he just sort of mentioned it as plural, may have ruined Half-Life 2 for me, and he outlined that the plot of Half-Life 2 is that Gordon Freeman is out to lead a rebellion against the dictatorship that is from the main bad guy from Half-Life 2, which I cannot remember now. That's really bad, actually, but I blame the port on this one. And that's the whole simple plot I was referring to, you know, with Portal 2 being, you know, we have to escape from this facility. Half-Life 1, we're Gordon Freeman, we're scientists, we have to escape to let the world know something's gone wrong to save the scientists. And the episodes were also pretty self-explanatory as well. I was sort of in disagreement with Half-Life 2's simple plot. And then Hank van der Linden has reminded me of that plot. And I appreciate that, thank you, because I never mentioned that the simple plot was actually for Half-Life 2, for Gordon Freeman to go and, you know, lead a rebellion against the dictatorship. You're right, Hank van der Linden. Thank you very much for reminding me. However, that just raises my point again, and I should have stressed this earlier, but I'll stress it now, that the simple plot for that game, which is to lead a rebellion against the dictatorship, doesn't work in the same way as you're a scientist in Half-Life 1 trying to get help for the other scientists in that game, because you're a scientist yourself. That's your motivation. And in Portal, you're a test subject, or you're in the middle of this testing facility, or the science facility being tested on. Naturally, you want to escape from it, or get out of it, or make sense of what's going on. That's motivation enough. Half-Life 2, leading a rebellion against the dictatorship, that's not motivation enough to go and do it. You need some background information as to why you're leading this rebellion group and what this dictatorship's all about, because it's one of those simple plots where you can't just do it. You have to know what the rebellion's fighting for, or fighting against, and you also have to know about the dictatorship as well. That's one of those plots where you really do need to know about the dictatorship and about the rebellious side. You really need to know about it, and again, the game didn't give you enough information, enough for you to then support the simple plot, so that anything extra you did find in the background complemented it, like you did in Half-Life 1 and the Portal games. So I'm still in disagreement with Half-Life 2, but I must stress that none of you guys ruined it for me. None of you guys ruined Half-Life 2 for me. This is my own conclusion just from my observations. None of you have ruined it for me. In fact, if anything, you guys have defended it to the kilt, and I agree with you that you should do that. You know, like I said, I'm probably missing something or didn't see something properly, you know, I agree with that. So no, you didn't ruin it for me, guys, not at all. Don't think that way, especially Hank van der Linden. You didn't ruin it for me, not at all. I just didn't agree with it in terms of the plot, that's all. Like I said, the game is fantastic in terms of coding and gameplay, but I did feel plot-wise it wasn't the best. But there you go. But anyway, thank you very much for that, Hank van der Linden, for that sort of comment, and I appreciate what you're trying to say, but don't worry, old chum, you haven't ruined it. The last thing I want to say, and then we will move on, and I think this is important as well, it's a bit of background information on the facility in general. Elanus19, who gave me the Easter egg along with Game Boy 8, sorry, has mentioned a little bit about the background. I mentioned, I don't think it's actually here, weirdly enough. Or is it? No, it's not. But I mentioned those Crystal Maze Dome things. I said, oh, do we ever get a chance to go in those? And what are they all about? Well, those Crystal Maze Dome things are apparently test facilities that we've sort of been in and out of anyway, or just other test facilities that exist. And apparently this whole place used to be a salt mine. I didn't know that. Maybe it was in the background information that we've read earlier about, you know, in that trophy cabinet we found. Maybe, I don't know, but Cave Johnson bought this whole area as a salt mine, because that's what it was. In fact, actually, yeah, I think we are in one of the testing facilities, because you can look at the framework of the background. Yeah, I think we are, actually. Oh, I've just died. Clever. Well done, Neo. Well done. Clever. Yeah, I blame the port. Right, I better speed this up then. Yes. Cave Johnson bought salt mine, turned the area into a testing facility, or turned it into Aperture Science facilities. Those Crystal Maze things are testing facilities that we may or may not have been to, so that's interesting. He also mentioned that the test subjects are, or once were, astronauts and or homeless people, hence the reference to the $60 that we could get for doing the testing. He did test on higher up people such as astronauts, but they apparently mysteriously disappeared after certain tests. And to cover himself up, and also because I guess maybe other people heard about this, the only test subjects he could get hold of were the homeless people, because if they did mysteriously disappear, no one would miss them, whereas with astronauts, yeah, people are going to miss them. So, interesting. And apparently the missing astronauts gave Aperture Science a bad name, which led it to almost going bankrupt, which he has mentioned before in a certain piece of narrative that I heard earlier from Cave Johnson, that they were going bankrupt. And that's actually these inspection posters I didn't quite understand. Remember to alert your supervisor if you see those. That's got something to do with them nearly going bankrupt, because they didn't want any of these inspector people to have an excuse to cause the company to fold. So that makes sense. And the last thing I want to mention is that, according to Eleanor, anyway, that we're actually in the lower part of the testing facility. This was all sealed off. I don't know who by, I think by Cave Johnson. Because they built a newer testing facility on top of this one, which is the same testing facility as we saw in Portal 1 and were in Portal 1, and I believe at the beginning of Portal 2. So that is very interesting, and that makes sense because Cave Johnson was in the comic, the Lab Rat Portal 2 comic, that explained a bit about Doug Radman's background. So yeah, so thank you very much for that, Ellis19. Thank you for that background information. I really do appreciate that. I don't have time to go and check the wikis, unfortunately. So thank you. Any background information like that is great. It really does add to the game. Again, I do feel that the game should give you that in some way, but maybe it has and I've missed it, or maybe it's yet to give me that and I haven't given it a chance to allow it to give me that. But whatever. Thank you so much. I feel much more up to date, and again, it just intrigues me about this whole facility. This facility is absolutely amazing in terms of its construction and purpose, and at the same time, now that we know more and more about it, it was kind of, well, a bit silly really, but well, whatever. Point being is, thank you very much for the information. I do deeply appreciate it.